our first episode, we discuss how strength can be found through higher power. Meet our guest, Brody Athey, who has journeyed from addiction to recovery, guided by his belief in something greater. In this episode, we explore how Brody's faith has been a source of inspiration and strength in his recovery. Welcome to The Peer Perspective, the podcast where we explore the many pathways to recovery. I'm your host, Kyle Van Blaricum, and I'm thrilled to have you here with us today. At The Peer Perspective, we're on a mission to shine light onto the journey of healing, resilience, and hope. Each episode, we bring you powerful stories of individuals who face substance use and mental health challenges head-on, along with insights from trained professionals and family members offering unwavering support. Whether you're on your own path to recovery or seeking to understand the struggles and triumphs of others, you're in the right place. This podcast is a safe space for inspiration, connection, and growth. Get ready for candid conversations, heartfelt stories, and valuable insights right here on The Peer Perspective.
Like that.
Our guest today is someone whose journey is a testament to the power of resilience, transformation, and strength that can be found in unexpected places. He's the pastor of SOS Church here in River Falls. Brody Athey, a good friend of mine, and he is going to help me out and be on the first episode of the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's do this. I've never done a podcast before.
Well, you know what? Me neither. So here we go.
All right, sounds good.
All right. So can you share your personal background and what led you to become involved with SOS?
Yeah. That's a huge question. You want to go all the way back?
I want to go from the beginning.
Okay, from the beginning. Yeah. Normal upbringing, I would say, other than I was adopted at a young age by my dad. But I grew up in a middle-class family up in Duluth, Minnesota, and life was pretty normal. But I do remember being a kid, and our families would get together with friends and stuff, and they would party, and they would drink, and everyone would change. They'd become happy, and I was attracted to that. So I would say 11 or 12 is when I picked up the first time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Alcohol, and I got drunk alone.
Yeah.
But I loved it.
Yeah.
It was like right away it was a love affair, and then shortly, it wasn't long after I started smoking weed, and I eventually got into drugs. I had 2 rehabs before the age of 16.
Wow.
I had already had juvenile detentions, felony drug charges, felony burglary charges, and that was kind of the path I was on right away.
Did you have a pretty religious upbringing, or was God a part of that early on?
Not at all. I never remember going to church or my family even talking about God.
Wow.
Yeah, there was no talk about God at all.
Wow. How was your personal recovery journey influenced, or how did it influence your decision to become a pastor? I mean, what was it? I can't imagine it was something that you just woke up one day and was like, I'm going to be a pastor. Coming from that lifestyle. And I can relate,
Yeah.
I've been,
Never in a million years did I ever plan on being a pastor. I've
Right.
done a lot of different things.
Right.
I've done sales jobs. I've done utility construction jobs. I've done just stocking shelves and construction, but never ever did I imagine I'd be a pastor. But so I guess fast forward, right? I had all that stuff going on as a kid, but I tried to escape that, and I traveled. And I did traveling magazine sales for years.
Okay.
The change of location got me in a place where I wasn't somewhere so long that I could stay in trouble and make a mess of things.
Sure.
And it taught me a lot about life and dealing with people. And I started to feel good about myself. And eventually I opened an office in California for a home security company doing alarm sales. And I found a lot of success. And everyone that said I was going to be a failure because of my past, it was kind of like, haha, like I'm not.
Right.
And so honestly, if I was honest, I thought that's what I was going to do for the rest of my life, live on the beach and do sales in
Sure.
California.
Yeah.
Eventually addiction catches up with you no matter where you're at.
Yep.
So just to spare you some time on what happened, my drug addiction got out of control.
Yeah.
It ended where I was shooting meth and heroin on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And at this point, I had 2 kids. My life was a disaster. I had lost homes, furniture, jobs.
Where were they at that point?
So my first son was with me on and off. And my second son, so depending on where we're at, he was just being born. And both my kids, I was high at the hospital watching them be born.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was lucky I was there, but like neither one was a great experience because of that.
Do you think the traveling kind of, I don't know, made it worse, or, you know?
No, so I'd stopped traveling by that point. Like,
okay. Got it.
Yeah, my oldest boy was born out in California. I tried to make it work with his mom, who's a great person, but we didn't know each other.
Okay.
I was like, move out here. I got I got a good thing going.
Yeah.
And so we tried to make it work. She moved back to be with family and friends, and I had a choice, like give up my kid and live the way I'm living, or go to Minnesota and try to figure out how to be a parent.
Yeah.
So I went to Minnesota.
Yeah.
And I made it work. I went back there. I got a regular job. I got my CDL. I started working different construction things in the mines and in different plants across the Midwest. And that worked. And for a while, I stayed off the drugs, but it was like constant drinking.
Yeah.
And it was like out of control drinking, but I knew that if I showed up to work, I could write that off.
Yeah.
Make it look like it was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, addiction always catches up with you. Chrissy got Percocets for an injury, which is my wife today, and the mother of my second 2 children. I took that pill, and it wasn't long before I was shooting dope again.
Yeah.
And so, long story short, that's really what happened, and it happened to line up just about the time I was getting employed with the city of Duluth doing utility maintenance.
Okay.
So you can't keep that lie going long.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't work out well, does it?
No, not at all. Especially when you're getting UAs and you get a call in the middle of the night and your wife's going to rehab and you find out you're homeless again and you're trying to lie to your boss. And after you just failed a drug test and tell them that you're not using drugs. And yeah, I lost everything, everything at that point. So the last year, like we're fast forward to like late 20s, early 30s, and the last year I had 3 rehabs again. Like boom, boom.
How many rehabs have you been to?
5.
Okay.
5. 2 before 16. Then I had a good stretch.
Yeah, right.
Where I kind of made it work because I didn't have any responsibilities.
Right.
But then it was 3 in the last year.
Okay.
And yeah, Braden. So for the first year of his life, I was out there using.
And Braden's your middle
child. Yeah.
Middle child. Okay. What do you think clicked? I mean, I hear, from people who have been to a lot of different rehab facilities, it's the same information for the most part. But would you say that you received something different at the last one, or was it just,
No, so I was always used to just bouncing back and trying to make this thing work. And like I had a lot of natural skills where I could do that. I could go to a treatment for 30 days, think I was cured, come back out, build a life, get all the things again, the material possessions, set up my family to be in a good spot, and I'd start drinking again, and I'd lose it over and over and over again. But this last time was the only time I was like, I don't think I can rebuild my life again.
Sounds vaguely familiar to me.
Yeah.
I could relate to that a lot, yeah.
I just was like, I don't think I can do it again.
Yeah.
And so like my last trip to treatment, I remember my dad, who was in recovery, and when I met him, he was only like 2 miles from where I was staying and getting high, and I knew he would help me if I called. And so the last day, and it was so painful the last 6 months. I don't think I smiled, but I called him, and he said, "Yeah, I'll help you. I'll help you get into a detox. We'll go get you a bottle. We'll make sure you're drunk and go in there." And every other time I would have been like, "Yeah." Mm-hmm. One last drunk on the way out, but this time I was like, "No, Dad, I don't even want to drink today."
Yeah.
And that was my first spiritual experience because I'd never lived a day in my life where I didn't want to.
So tell me more about the spiritual experience. When people say that they have a spiritual experience, what does that mean?
So yeah, it's just like seeing the world through a different lens, or something happening in your life that you're not accustomed to acting out. That's what I would say. Like, a spiritual experience for me is not wanting to drink or do drugs, because for a span of 20 years of my life, I couldn't go a day without wanting.
Yeah.
So this is the first time ever, and it came from brokenness, that I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
It's the first time that I didn't think I couldn't beat the system.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So you experience like you're broken.
Surrender.
Yeah, surrender.
Yeah. Like, and I tell people all the time, and we talk about surrender all the time in recovery, but it's like, when true surrender comes, I think you.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least I did.
Yeah.
Because it was different than any other time. I just said, okay, I'll jump through the hoops I got to jump through. Go back.
Was that the last time that you drank?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's amazing because you asked what was different about the treatment I went to. Well, when I finally surrendered, because I'm the type of guy that'll leave rehab facilities and tell them I'm fixed, and then tell everyone else I know what I'm doing. But when I finally did surrender, I said, I just want to go somewhere. I don't care how far it is. I don't care how long it is. I don't really care what happens to me. I ran into a guy that just taught AA.
Yeah.
And that was my first experience in a treatment center where we just did big book work.
Oh, what treatment facility?
Project Turnabout, Granite Falls.
Okay.
And Gary V.
Shout out to Gary V.
Dude, that guy saved my life. I love that guy. I get to see him next week. He's getting older, but yeah, he's the kind of guy that said, put down your treatment packet. We're not going to talk about that stuff. My kids could fill that out. Like, we're going to talk about real stuff. And he'd have you crying in like 5 minutes, but you knew that the guy loved you, so you stayed and listened. And yeah, we opened the book. He taught me about my condition, right? An obsession of the mind and a physical allergy of the body. And I like finally understood that when I pick up, I don't have the power to not pick up again.
You lose the choice at that point.
I lose the choice at that point.
Yep.
So he like drilled into my head, as long as you don't use, which sounds simple, but it's not all the time.
Right, yeah.
As long as you don't do that, like, you have the choice today.
Yeah.
So I bought into that, and by the time I left Project Turnabout, I was on step 6.
Okay.
Of AA. And I went to Kinnick Falls. Okay. In River Falls for a halfway house.
So that's kind of what brought you out this direction.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep, that's how I ended up here. And so my wife, I don't know if she was sober at this time or not. I'd have to ask her, but eventually she kind of followed me into recovery. She got sober watching his 12-step videos and doing the work.
Okay.
And we'd call and talk to each other about each step.
Yeah.
So that's what it looked like. But we had to anything. This is another whole long story, so I don't want to take up too much time. But anything a couple can do to destroy a marriage or a relationship, me and my wife have done that to each other too.
Of course.
Everything.
Of course, right?
Everything. And a month into Kinnick Falls, she came down, and we were fighting in a hotel room. Like, there weren't drugs, but it was the same behavior.
Right.
And I was like, I'm not going back to Kinnick. As long as I don't get high, they'll be fine with it. And I got kicked out of Kinnick Falls. Yeah, she wanted me to go back to Duluth. I was like, I know I can't do that. Like, I had a recovery community down here, a new sponsor. And so I was willing to go to a homeless shelter to stay sober, just have her go back up north. And I ended up calling Pastor Frank at Servant of the Shepherd Church. And,
so this was kind of your first interaction with the church, was at this point. Okay.
Yeah. And I met with him and Pam and Kevin.
When was that?
Man, February, March. Almost 6 years ago now.
Okay, so 6 years ago.
Almost, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now the story's going to really start getting good here.
Yeah.
This is when the change happens, right?
Yeah. So I got 2 garbage bags full of clothes. I got like nothing to my name, and these guys say, yeah, we'll put you on a couch. We don't have a room for you, but we'll put you in a couch.
This was at the halfway houses that are associated with the church.
With the church.
Okay, got it.
So yeah, I had nothing. They said, I'll put you on a couch, and I took it.
Yeah.
I moved in. I stayed on the couch. I didn't even have a driver's license. I had back child support. I just had a mess. And I just started sleeping on the couch next door to the church.
How long were you on the couch for?
Not very long. So I had a lot of people help me. I had a boss help me get my first apartment. So I was probably on the couch for like a month or 2. Like, I really wanted to get off the couch. So even my first apartment was just a little studio basement apartment with an air mattress and a Rubbermaid with a TV on it.
Moving on up.
Oh, yeah. But I had joy. I had found something that I'd never had before. And I think we should go back because we talked about spiritual experiences earlier.
Yeah.
So when I get kicked out of Kinnick, I'm like, what's going on, God? I'm doing everything right. You know, I didn't use and I didn't understand that the rules still applied to me. I thought I was special in a way.
Yep.
But I'm just like, show me you're real or I'm going back out. And like, this is the most, to this day, the most powerful spiritual experience I've ever had. Like, I went to the quiet church after I moved my garbage bags in next door. And I went by myself. It was empty. And I prayed at one of the pews. And I just said, God, you got to show me you're real or I don't know that I can do this. And
so let me get this straight. You literally said that.
Yeah.
And then
that was my prayer. So like, and then I went to church that day, like totally had forgot about it. And I heard on solid rock with Christ I stand, all the ground is sinking sand. Still not thinking anything of that. I'm just like, okay, that's all I got from church.
Yeah.
Hour-long service. That's all I remember. And I'm running my dog down by the river. And this random lady crosses this bridge and looks right at me and says, you're lucky you're on that solid rock right now or you'd be sinking in that sand. I just walked up.
Huh.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I prayed, she spoke into exactly what was said at church.
Right.
And just walked off. And so I'm the kind of guy, like I'm an addict. So I always ask for more.
Yeah.
And I did that. I was like, God, I'm an addict. I want to say that was you, but it could be coincidence. Show me again. And I had another experience. And today I have a whole book of experiences like this. But there was this random lady outside of a restaurant. She was digging through the ashtray getting cigarettes, like half-smoked cigarettes.
Yeah.
Tattered clothes. And I went to give her my last $20, and she just shook her head and looked at me like it was evil. And I was like, what, you don't want it? She said, I can see the light of God in your eyes. Keep going. It was like right after another prayer like that. And it's like, okay, this has happened within like 2 weeks of each other in my whole life. I've never experienced that stuff.
Right.
So everyone's experience is different, but I'm not kidding when I say like I could feel it throughout my body.
Yeah.
Like I lit up. Like I just knew in that moment like God was speaking. And I kind of like not even consciously, I guess subconsciously decided like I was going to see what God was all about. And I started to read the Bible along with AA.
Yeah.
And I read the Bible and it was just like, this is true.
Right.
This is true. I kept having experiences. I was writing them down and I was like, when you ask how I became to be a pastor, like eventually going to the church and doing all these things, I was like, God, I've given my whole life to drugs and alcohol. I don't know what it means to give my whole life to you, but I'm willing to try. Like, and so I met with Pastor Frank and I said, hey, I think God's calling me to be a pastor. And I kind of halfway wanted him to be like, no, or give me a really hard path. And he just said, yeah, I think that's possible. And so I was like kind of blown away because I don't have any credentials or anything at this point. I still really don't. But I met with him for like a year of doing recovery and working with people and going to Bible studies and just getting involved and trying to rebuild my family and lead my family in a godly way. And all of a sudden, I was like, Frank, how do I know? How do I know if God's calling me to be a pastor? And he said, just pray. And I was like, okay. And I said, God, just speak to me like, if you want me to do this. And I'll never forget, I was reading Matthew 6:33, and it said, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Everything else will be added to you. And I was like, I got to know if that's real.
Yeah.
They say not to test God, but like, I was like, I got to know if that's real. And so I had a conversation with my wife that day. I said, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to start walking to the church. Now, she was only making like $10 an hour at like old folks home, assisted living home.
Yeah.
And I was like, listen, if we get 3 months behind or more, like I can dig us out of that hole. I know what that looks like.
Right.
But like, I believe God is telling me to do this, and I got to see if he's real and if he really will provide for you.
That was a leap of faith. I mean, for you to just kind of go all in, quit your job.
Yeah. It sounds crazy now, but it sounded so normal then.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You were all in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like willing to fail. I didn't know if it would fully work or not, but I just like had to find out.
Right.
And that, like, seeking, every time I've sought God, like, things have been revealed. Seeking is like the easiest thing to do to know God.
Yeah.
Like, I still believe that up to this point. Every time I seek God, like, he shows up. But yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
I literally quit my job the next day, started walking to the church, just doing whatever I was supposed to do. And Frank had me cleaning and just filling up communion cups. It wasn't like anything crazy at first, and I didn't get paid.
Yeah.
But like within 3 weeks, my wife got promoted twice from being on the floor making $10 an hour to being like some regional manager making like $50K a year.
Yeah.
And shortly after that, I started getting paid too, and I started like stepping into these different things.
Yeah.
God opened a door to a seminary. I got in on a writing sample with a GED.
Wow.
Yeah. And, dude, I can't even like tell you how. Like to this day, I'm just kind of like wake up and be like, if you're gonna show up, I'll keep going.
Yeah. I mean, from my experience, it's such an unnatural thing for us, you know, for people with substance use disorder to give up that really control, I think, is what it comes down to, and take a leap of faith like that. But then, you know, to be able to see something come, you know, from, I don't know. That's pretty amazing.
My whole thing was just to find out if God was real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they said God, 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 and all the steps. Everyone told me God, 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 and they said higher power. And I sought different things. I looked at Taoism and all these different things, but it was like, pay attention to who God's putting in my life. That first counselor I talked about was a Christian guy. He didn't force it on me, right? I didn't even know he believed that for a while. Then he puts me on a sober house next to a Christian church. And I find out I got all these other believers around me. Like, dude, when I opened my eyes, it was like God was everywhere.
Right.
And like my higher power is Jesus Christ, and like the people he put in my life and the places and things he put in front of me had to do with him.
Right. Right. What would you say to somebody who maybe is, you know, struggles with that for whatever reason? I mean, I've talked to a lot of people who, you know, they grew up in religion or whatever, where maybe it, you know, it was harder to come to that, or maybe they have some resentments. What would you say to someone who, you know, is trying to find a higher power of their own understanding?
Yeah, just seek.
Yeah.
Just seek it out. I mean, God's big enough to get you where you got to be. And I would just say, like, I don't know, something that's helpful for a lot of people is to set aside prayer. Set aside everything I think I know about recovery. Set aside everything I think I know about God. And set aside everything I think I know about me so that I can have a new experience.
Yeah.
Like, that's true. You know, like, the things that kept me from God was, like, I had created this God in my mind and this idea about church, never having stepped in one. And I had all these preconceived notions and prejudices that weren't true.
Yeah.
And so I would say, like, just start somewhere. Whatever it is, seek that. But, like, earnestly seek it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like, I always challenge people, because I've worked with a lot of people that struggle with the whole God thing. And I did, too, until the end.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, just read the book of Matthew. Tell me one thing you don't like about Jesus.
Right. Right.
And I have yet for someone to be like, I don't like that.
Yeah. Right.
So, yeah. But it's okay to be where you're at.
Yeah. And he'll meet you where you're at.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sounds like.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're a pastor now at SOS.
Yeah.
Tell me more about the ministries that you guys have and kind of, I know you have a couple, 3 sober houses?
Yep. 3 sober houses.
Okay.
A food shelf ministry, a furniture ministry, and the church, 90% of the people are in recovery.
Sure.
We're not affiliated with any big denomination or any of that. This might sound crazy coming from a pastor, but like politics and religion drive me crazy because I think that everyone's experience with God is personal.
Right.
There are some like basic things that we all agree on.
Yep.
But the other stuff doesn't matter.
Right.
And we don't force. So with our sober houses, we understand people are on a path and on a journey.
Yep.
the church isn't forced. We
Yep.
we believe in attraction rather than promotion. We don't want to ruin anybody's
Well, and it
experience.
seems to be doing pretty well because, I mean, I know the last time I was there, I mean, you guys hardly have enough space.
Yeah.
I mean, you're running out of room.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just a testament to, you know, it does. People are attracted to that, you know, and what you guys are sharing. I mean, what's a lot of healing. So you say that about 90% of the people that go there are in recovery.
Yeah.
Is it primarily from substance use or?
Yeah, mostly.
Okay.
Mostly,
Okay.
yeah. But we're all in recovery from something.
From something, right?
Yeah, it drives me crazy sometimes, and this is just like one of my little quirks when we separate ourselves.
Right.
Because I think for a season we do, but like I don't think anyone walks through this life without going through something.
Right. Oh yeah. Everybody's got their thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the more that we recognize on what's the same about us,
yep,
the better our relationship is. If I shut you out because you're different, like we're not going to get anywhere. But that's the special part about SOS. It's not like we don't have a rock star preacher. We don't have the best music.
You guys are pretty. I mean, you and Pastor Frank, and I mean, it's pretty good.
Yeah, but it's the community.
It is, yeah.
It's like really people that care and want to get involved and like share life.
Yeah,
that's the sweet spot. That's why
I know.
People come back.
In my own journey, when I had reached out to the pastor at the Catholic Church. And he actually referred me to SOS and said that you guys would be better able to help. And that's actually how I first found out about SOS.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so Father Jerry Harris was the one that sent me over to meet with Pastor Frank. You know, so that's how I. Hold on, I got a couple questions here. Yeah. How do you navigate the balance between faith-based recovery support and being inclusive of those who may not share the same beliefs?
Man, that's a really good question. So I teach and preach Jesus, and I just walk out my faith, but I'm not going to tell someone how or when to believe.
Right.
That's such a personal, intimate journey. Yep. When you try to force something on people, it drives them further away. So like I said, let's just find our similarities. The big book says higher power and it says God.
Right.
I'm not the judge of that. When I sit down with someone, I share my experience.
Yep.
And how it's worked for me.
Yeah.
But like I support you in your experience too.
Kind of the laws of attraction.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And like, dude, I tried a million other paths.
Yeah.
And I had to.
Yeah.
So to rob someone of that is playing God.
Yeah. I mean, and from my experience, all the people that have been really successful in their recovery God is at the front of that. I mean, from what people have shared with me. And actually from my own experience too, it has to be, because, you know, it's not me. My best thinking doesn't get me anywhere good.
Without a doubt, dude. God's responsible for everything in my life today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Without God, I'd still be in a trap house somewhere. I promise you.
What advice do you have for individuals who may be struggling in their recovery and looking for renewed motivation?
Just get connected. Whether it's AA or a church or even another group, Celebrate Recovery. I mean, the gym.
Something.
There's communities everywhere, but get connected because we aren't strong enough alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone that kind of isolates and goes off alone and tries to do this deal by themselves gets picked off.
Yep.
And so I would just say find a
community. What message of hope and strength would you like to share with listeners regarding, or regardless of where they are in their recovery journeys?
Yeah. Recovery is worth it. I didn't believe everything that they told me about like the promises. I didn't believe that my life would be different even when I heard these guys say all these things happen. And I didn't believe in recovery.
Yeah.
Right? And then I can't even pinpoint the day it happened, but it happened and it was like, okay, it makes sense. And now today it's like I can't imagine a life without recovery.
Right.
Like I don't have the urge to drink or use drugs.
Yeah.
That's a gift from God.
Yeah.
But like it's one of those cheesy lines where they say don't quit before the miracle happens. Like that's true.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy. Especially the first year.
Yeah.
Dude, I told you I had like 10 grand in back child support. I had back taxes, no driver's license, like
Yeah.
no car,
Yeah.
like severed relationships with my children.
Yeah.
And it's like within 3 years, that path was hard and I wanted to quit sometimes, but like all of that was restored.
Yeah.
Within 3 years.
Plus some, right?
Yeah. Like it's only getting better now. But yeah, 100-fold. Dude, when I was in my treatment bed, I begged God just to see my kids again and have a $15 an hour job.
Right.
And it's been way more than that.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah. God's amazing.
So what are what do you see for the future? For SOS Church or for yourself?
I don't know. The future scares me.
Yeah.
To be honest, like when I start thinking about what's going on or trying to make plans or like even taking the gravity of what God's doing, like I get fearful and my natural reaction to that is to want to run from it all.
Yeah.
And so like another cheesy quote from AA, one day at a time, like that's the way I have to live. Okay, like God, what do you want me to do just today? And then, like I find when I just do those things each day, like it all just unravels how it's supposed to unravel.
Yeah.
It's like living in the future or in the past where I find that I'm afraid because it looks too big.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, like if God's calling you into something, it will be too big.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna have to do it.
Right.
So
But it'll get you through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I always say too, if he quits tomorrow, like it's been a good run. You know, like I'll go back to doing whatever I was doing. I won't get high, but
Right.
you know,
Right.
like if he keeps showing up, we have this bargain. Like I'll keep going.
Right. Right.
So, yeah.
Pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I can't thank you enough for, sitting with me today. You've been my guinea pig. I think it's gone really good. I'm really hoping, that if nothing else, somebody can at least, get some hope, right?
Yeah.
And know that it's not always a perfect journey and it's not easy, but it's reassuring to know that people do get through it, and I think God has a plan for us. Right? Everybody. Yeah.
And it's good.
No matter what the hang up is.
No matter what the hang up is.
And I like what you said about, we have more in common than we do, differences. So just something to remember. And I'd love to have you back at some point.
Okay.
And we can, I'll plug the church here on the link.
Thanks.
So is there any way, it sounds like you guys have quite a few ministries. Is there any way that, if anybody wants to donate or support what you're doing, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, online.
Okay.
Yeah, we have all the information for it.
Through the website?
And a place you can give if you want to give.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate everything that you're doing for the community. And I appreciate you as a friend.
Thanks, dude. I feel the same.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us on this inspiring journey of strength and recovery. If you found this episode meaningful, please consider subscribing to The Pure Perspective to stay updated on our upcoming episodes. Your support means the world to us, and by sharing these stories, you're helping to spread hope and resilience to those who may need it most. Remember, you're not alone on your journey, and together we can make a difference. Subscribe now, and let's keep moving forward one story at a time. Thank you for joining us on this episode of The Pure Perspective. Remember, you're never alone on your journey to recovery. We'll be back with more stories of strength and resilience. Until then, stay strong, keep the faith, and take care.